We've done a lot of talking about a lot of other types of energy storage and batteries, but now I think we've got enough foundation to dive into the solid-state realm. Remember our energy spectrum? Well, solid-state batteries are still batteries, hence the name, which also means they don't meaningfully move near the center of the spectrum. Solid-state batteries are still diffusion limited. In fact, often more constrained in effective diffusion than batteries with a liquid electrolyte, because now there's no liquid for the ions to travel through. It's like comparing airtight to watertight. Watertight is easier. And I've got a bunch more metaphors to slap you upside the screen with, because I've got a massive list of solid-state breakthroughs, but before I break them to you, we need to know why all this is being done. I'll start with the fundamental goals of solid-state batteries. Since we are a money-first capitalist society, goal number one is shareholder wealth, and that's obtained through intellectual property, research funding, and of course the publicity of a potentially large breakthrough. And yes, I'm not lost on the fact that patents are more important than product on this list, and of course there's more on that later. Number two would be the fundamental science goal. More power baby, watt-hours per liter, and watt-hours per kilogram. More zoom, less weight and size. Next, shareholders want fewer warranty claims, and less fire, of course. Solid-state batteries do not pose anywhere near the risk of thermal runaway. Big benefit there. And finally, local production, less dependence on China, new processes, which is another great fun way to grab some fresh intellectual property, and a great way to grab government incentives, in the event those were to ever exist again. But it is still a battery, and they don't call the solid-state battery the holy grail for nothing. Remember our lithium iron phosphate battery? That's a liquid electrolyte, and so, from a high level, lithium ions literally swim from one phase to the other. In a solid-state battery, there's a solid electrolyte. But ions still have to diffuse. And yes, that's a challenge. If you're visualizing this, it's like pulling a quarter through a McDonald's play place ball pit using only a magnet, except the balls are constantly shifting, compressing, and separating as you pull. So instead of swimming, or more accurately pulling the ions through water using a current, the diffusion process becomes much more like parkour. And sometimes with parkour, there's no place to jump. If the balls aren't touching or close enough together, then there's no force from the magnet. That means your parkour jumper is stopping and the ion's pathway is broken. And while a solid-state battery may validate in the lab, measured with bulk conductivity, that does not translate to real life. Real life is parkour in an architecturally diverse neighborhood. Bulk conductivity is, can ions move through this material if nothing goes wrong? The real world stuff, or effective conductivity, answers the real question. Can ions move through this once everything goes wrong at the same time? A solid electrolyte introduces a ton of new problems in the real world, which is that effective conductivity. They include grain boundaries, particle-to-particle interfaces, electrode-to-electrolyte interfaces, voids and microcracks, tortuous pathways, contact loss during cycling, chemical interfaces, and mechanical stress. And one of the only methods we know to use to solve most of these problems is high pressure. More on that in a second. So what you often end up with is, and this may sound counterintuitive, but solid-state batteries have electrochemically driven mechanical fatigue. Chemistry causing mechanics to fail, which then feeds back into chemistry. So, we've identified two of the biggest challenges with solid-state batteries, and they're probably the toughest to conceptually understand: physical contact and ionic conductivity. But there's more. Parkour is absolutely breathtaking when it's expertly executed, but plotting a course where that execution is achievable is very hard. One might even be motivated to cheat. Here's a super misleading headline as an example. Factorial launches solid-state battery program in the US. Oh, sick! Solid-state batteries right here in the US. Well, not quite. Scroll down a little bit and you find these Factorial energy batteries are quasi-solid state, which is as close to solid state as you can get without being solid state, closer than semi-solid, for example, but they are not what the headline says they are. Let's go back to building our parkour city. If you build structures that are very similar to current ones and are manufactured in similar ways, then the building gets easier. And cheaper, of course. That's a quasi-solid-state battery. Instead of a solid electrolyte or a liquid, it's a gel, which is obviously not a liquid, but also definitely not a solid either. Since it's a gel, there's still thermal runaway potential, so why even build them? Because your current manufacturing process doesn't have to change hardly any. You've got a better battery coming off the line, and you're definitely saving cost and avoiding complexity. Current battery factories are built around slurry casting, liquid infiltration, calendaring, roll-to-roll processing, and moderate pressures. Fully solid-state batteries break almost all of this manufacturing line, which is why the production vehicles for Karma Automotive are getting quasi-solid-state batteries, and the controlled tests, like those in this vehicle, are getting the all-solid-state batteries, because the solid-state units just aren't ready for mass production. But the quasi-solid-state batteries experience many fewer limitations compared to the ones I listed earlier for the solid-state units. Here's a low-res chart to boost your understanding. So, to recap, the unsolved drawbacks of solid-state batteries so far are physical contact, ionic conductivity in the real world, and novel manufacturing processes. There's a ton to cover in manufacturing, but because it's all secretive and proprietary, we can say this. Because pressure is often involved and solids are less forgiving, the manufacturing process for solid-state batteries is not only less forgiving, but defects are more likely to occur. This reduces yield and raises cost. And if that didn't raise costs enough, the solid materials themselves are often very sensitive to their environment, contamination, and small defects, making processing that much more expensive. But wait, there's more. Since lithium ions have mass, not to be confused with inertia, when a solid-state battery charges and discharges, it physically changes size. This can lead to cracking, delamination, and other fundamental problems. Then there's interfacial chemical instability. You see, when a liquid electrolyte-based battery charges for the first time, an SEI forms, or a solid electrolyte interphase, and part of the battery capacity is lost right there. SEI formation is largely a one-time front-loaded process, and this layer is necessary for the battery to work. But with a solid-state battery, layers of this type can form over time as solid electrolytes can react with the electrodes themselves. These layers can reduce conductivity, grow brittle, and create fragility within the battery, as well as reduce the life of the battery over time. And the layers often continue growing during additional cycling. And since there's no liquid electrolyte, the mechanical properties of each solid become critically important. Differences in stiffness, fracture behavior, and thermal expansion mean that interfaces between materials become hot zones for failure and degradation. And these interfaces can provide pathways for dendrite growth along defects or cracks. This is why fast charging claims are fragile, and real-world tests are often conservative. Remember the donut battery being dialed back to half speed for fast charging so you can get a coffee? Maybe that's not the whole reason. Also, thermal management is still an issue and not really solved. You've got cracking and conductivity issues, making fast charging fragile, and not just a cooling problem. So now we can put all the challenges in one place. Physical contact, ionic conductivity, manufacturing, chemomechanical volume change, interfacial chemistry instability, mechanical mismatches at interfaces, and thermal sensitivity. If you want to look at it from a high level, there are a lot of similarities between nuclear fusion, hydrogen fuel cell adoption, and solid-state batteries when it comes to the real world. Solid-state batteries live at the intersection of real physics with real-world applications and Silicon Valley investor speak with overpromise and under-deliver timelines. And with that, we can probably look at the innovations in the solid-state space. Low res chart. So with that said, let's explore what solid-state technology and the patent barriers that may exist really looks like. Here's a look at solid-state technology as we know it today. First of all, we need to look at the companies. There are a ton of companies currently working on solid-state batteries. And yes, these are up to date, including the Geely announcement. And solid state at the end of the day doesn't really mean anything unless we know what kind of solid-state batteries there are. There are some common categories being developed, but because companies are secretive and racing to be first or best at this new technology, there are many different levels as to how vague the descriptions of the materials for the anodes, cathodes, and electrolytes are. Hydro-Quebec, for example, says their solid-state battery will have a solid polymer electrolyte. That description is extremely vague, but fairly common. Ion Storage, however, is developing a ceramic solid electrolyte, which is a claim not everybody on this list is making. Most of these materials are proprietary, and we won't know exactly what's going on, but we know that solid-state batteries are a way to get more energy density, and we can look at those next. 400 watt-hours per kilogram is the claim from Donut, and it looks like a lot of these solid-state batteries are in that same realm. Some a little more, some a little less, and of course we have some vague ranges. We also want to know when these batteries are going to hit the streets, and for Donut to say that in 2026 they're production ready, they're not the only ones. These are all published in different contexts and some for different uses, but these are the most accurate estimates at the time of me publishing this video as far as when these are coming to market. And each one of these companies also has highlights as far as advantages that their solid-state batteries help provide. From an operational pilot line to cell-to-pack technology, cold pressed into shape, module-free packaging, 3D solid-state film, compact size, and even passing a 200°C nail test. There's so much technology diversity here, it would take a video the length of this video to really break it all down. But here's where Donut's strategy might be problematic. There are so many patents here that result from this technology. And if you look at the numbers and the trade-offs, it's almost like Donut took the best statistic out of each one of these categories that was the easiest to prove and promised that. What I can promise is that a technology that isn't 100% novel will face a very difficult route to a patent. And if they can't get the patent, they'll be licensing the technology for 20 years, which would again make that claim that they're cheaper than lithium impossible to back up in real life. Solid-state batteries face 7 major categories of challenges, and most solid-state battery solutions are mechanical mitigations, not electrochemical breakthroughs. But that chart is pretty dense and might be hard to look at, so we can simplify it a little bit. Physical contact loss, real-world ionic conductivity, manufacturing, chemomechanical volume change, interfacial chemical instability, mechanical mismatch, and thermal issues. So how do you solve each of those? The physical contact problem. Examples include grain boundaries, electrode to electrolyte contact, and voids and microcracks. Is typically mitigated with pressure. That's the best mitigation so far, albeit an incomplete one. Donut has claimed there's no high pressure in their battery. For ionic conductivity, sulfides can exhibit high bulk conductivity, but effective conductivity remains a major problem in real systems. Regardless, that's the best mitigation so far, but Donut claims 400 watt-hours per kilogram and 5-minute charging. The best way to solve manufacturing is to not go all solid state. Quasi-solid state is the best real-world answer so far. With all solid-state batteries, the yield problems cause costs that aren't competitive. Right now, manufacturing compatibility beats theoretical elegance. However, Donut's manufactured units are supposedly cheaper than lithium-ion, and they also claim to be all solid-state. Chemomechanical change is reduced with pressure, as well as small particle size. This drawback is a real-world failure constraint. Cracking and other damage is difficult to avoid in rigid solids. Big shocker there. Despite this, Donut claims 100,000 cycles. For interfacial chemical instability, where different solids don't get along at contact points, currently the best mitigation is protective coatings. An example being lithium niobate, I hope I said that right, or LiNBO3, I hope I said that right. But Donut claims no lithium, and again, a 5-minute charge time. Mechanical mismatches are one of the causes of dendrites. Mismatches create defects and failure hotspots over time. Add enough current, and even so-called dendrite-blocking ceramics fail. A common mitigation here is, again, pressure. Donut claims 100,000 cycles and no dendrite growth. Finally, thermal issues don't go away with solid electrolytes. Instead of potential for fire, which you get with liquid electrolytes, you get potential for durability failure. Thermal mitigation in solid-state batteries is primarily an architectural problem. Materials and structures must create controlled heat flow paths and suppress damaging temperature gradients. Donut says 99% capacity at 100 C, and the battery can be any shape, so heat flow problems could have potentially been solved in a novel way. Donut's claims are being thrown around as if they are the holy grail, and there's a reason for that. Let's look at what some real-world companies are doing with their solid-state technology. I took 7 companies off my master list and zoomed in a little further as to how each of these challenges is being addressed. These are some of the major players, but not all of them. However, I do think it's a nice window into just how far from the competitive market Donut's claims go. Factorial Energy, for example, is going with those quasi-solid-state batteries we've already talked talked about, where the gel electrolyte will improve contact and conductivity, but more importantly, their quasi-solid-state battery is largely drop-in compatible. And even though gel electrolytes don't eliminate thermal runaway risk, they can improve safety and performance. QuantumScape is heavily investing in ceramic separator manufacturing for dendrite suppression and to raise the practical current limit and resist shorting pathways. Ceramic is also non-flammable, and anode-free architecture that forms lithium metal during charging can address energy density, dendrites, and architectural change. Solid Power is using a soft, solid electrolyte for ionic conductivity. Soft sulfides also have better contact than oxides. There's a heavy reliance on interface coatings for interface control, and they've got OEM-partnered pilot-scale manufacturing and validation efforts. Toyota is also working with soft sulfides for adhesion and high conductivity sulfides for transport. There's already experience here with cathode coatings for interface mitigation, and Idemitsu, I hope I pronounced that right, is building a pilot facility for electrolyte production in partnership with Toyota as we speak. Honda has a pilot manufacturing line, and their focus is manufacturing feasibility and durability under cycling. It's more of a can we build it, not can we invent it. Samsung SDI is developing a pilot line focused on solid electrolytes and interface engineering, including coatings. Prologue Here is working on ceramic architecture aimed at reducing reliance on heavy pressure, exhibiting a non-flammable stack, and mitigating swelling and contact challenges through structure and materials. This is what the solid-state industry actually looks like right now. And there's actually a number for this. It's called a technology readiness level, where the batteries that we use today are a 9, a final commercial product. Solid-state batteries are currently a 4 to 6, prototype, modeling, validation, and field demonstration. And Donut Labs is currently a 2, no matter how many Louis Vuitton logos are on the hat. For reference, Aptera is about as far along as solid-state batteries, 6 or 7 in the readiness level. Yet Donut claims production ready today. The fact remains, there are several readiness levels between what Donut claims and what Donut can prove. Join Patreon or become a YouTube member for early access to videos. Thank you so much for watching till the end. It means the world. Subscribe for more. We'll see you on the next one.